This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Anything discussed during this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all content is for general entertainment purposes only. Listeners should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter. Listening to, contacting us, or any of the links or resources contained within this podcast and or website does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views expressed during this podcast are those of the individual lawyers in their individual personal capacities only.
All the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies, all the legal ladies.
Welcome to All the Legal Ladies. Unwind with us as we navigate the fascinating world of legal tales, precedents, and the occasional objection-worthy joke. Welcome to episode 12, our season finale. So what do you think now that we've got 12 episodes, well, 11, now we're on 12 under our belts, since this was my baby. Season 2 coming?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Still deeply ambivalent, afraid that people will watch, afraid they won't watch. Both outcomes feel differently scary.
Yeah. But not bad. Not as bad as I thought it would be. It's a lot easier taping the episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has a nice format. So thank you to the wonderful engineer behind our podcast.
Yes. The wonderful Courtney Stanley.
And thank you for watching.
Or listening.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And tell us what you want to hear, season 2 or 3, or, however long we keep this going. We're happy to take suggestions or talk about things that you are interested in. Mm-hmm. But since this is our last one, I think we should talk about us. So do you remember your first case as an attorney?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I remember it so well because it was, and we're not into that part, childhood trauma, but it was traumatic because I was supposed to have my supervisor there. It was a domestic violence case. It was a contested hearing. And my supervisor was like, oh, you'll be fine. I'll be there. Because law school doesn't teach you how to, prepare for court or trials unless you are in a clinic or something. And I didn't participate in a clinic.
Even clinics, it's very different than handling a case.
So I'm up there, and then I was thinking about the respondent is testifying, or no, my client's testifying, and I'm trying to introduce something and get it into evidence. And the other attorney is objecting, talking about best evidence rule. And I was like, does this really apply to the best? Is that a valid objection? I am really not sure. I'm not sure. The judge overruled the objection, not due to my brilliant argument, but to say, no, it does not apply. And then I'm just like, should I be objecting more?
The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
Like so many things. It depends.
Yes. But thankfully, we did get the protective order, but boy, was I hot at my supervisor. Mm-hmm. She did not appear at all. Just left me out to dry. And thankfully, my client didn't know any better. But it was a successful and eye-opening experience, learning what not to do and not to rely on supervisors.
What would you tell yourself back then? Like if she appeared in front of you right now, what would you tell yourself?
You did okay. It was your first trial, yes, but you still did okay. I mean, I knew the case. I was prepared, knew the facts and everything, but it's just being the attorney part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is, they don't teach you, again, I say, they don't teach you that in law school about how to object and how to really cross-examine a witness. So, but you did okay, young Marsha. You did okay. You survived.
Yes. How about you, Alycia?
So I don't know that I remember my very first one. The case I did, a lot of times the opposing party might not show up, or, if they did, they were unrepresented or they consented. So what sticks out to me is my first contested hearing against another attorney. And I'd been doing it for maybe 3 months at that point. And I don't even know how long I'd been on my own. But it was sort of a strange case. The other side had criminal charges that were kind of related and kind of not. So I remember talking to this other attorney, out in the hallway to see if we could reach a consent. And, he said, well, my client can't testify. He's got pending criminal charges. And I'm like, and he made it sound like, oh, we just couldn't even have this hearing because of that. I'm like, that is a case that respondents often find themselves in. I don't know what to tell you, sir. I don't know if he was trying to intimidate me or maybe hard to say. But so we did end up having that trial. My client testified about some pretty gross stuff. I think there was another relative who testified. I want to say the respondent did end up testifying. But I remember I was on cold medications, was not feeling my best that day. I was nervous about my first trial with another attorney. But in the end, we did win, and my client got her order, as it should have been. I don't know what ended up happening with the criminal charges or not. But so as far as things, I had, other times where I, learned on the job and was definitely more upset after the outcome. But that particular first one, that was a nice one. I was happy that day. I'm happy about it now. So
Anything you would tell yourself back then?
It's I don't know if I would take the cold medicine that morning.
Don't don't do drugs before you go representing someone.
Now that we know 15 years later that phenylephrine or whatever that is.
What word are you trying to say?
Phenylephrine.
The fake pseudoephedrine?
The fake pseudoephedrine.
That they could sell over the counter.
Doesn't actually do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Would I take pseudoephedrine? Maybe. With a breakfast.
I can't remember my first. But as a public defender, my first would have been a docket of 30. So I really don't remember. And I wasn't as nervous because University of Baltimore, our clinic was in court, in trial. So when I did the public defender clinic third year, I tried cases. I had one of the attorneys was with me in the courtroom next to me when I first started. And then later on, it was they put a toe in the room so the judge would be okay with me actually trying the case, but not actually. So I was lucky enough to have that start. I mean, I was still nervous because I didn't know the judge. I didn't know the state's attorneys when I first started. I can't even remember what my first trial is, to be honest, because I feel like there was probably some traffic trial or case that I just tried. But there was definitely a lot of faking it till you make it, just I know the cases, I know the case law, so I just have to have the confidence that I am an attorney. And I do remember turning 30 and being I can finally tell people how old I am. Because a lot of times I would come and sit down and be like, are you old enough to be an attorney?
Yeah,
I remember that. Yes. So I think I would tell myself now to let a lot of it go because there definitely was a lot of, you're a public pretender, you're not a real attorney, and just it doesn't matter, but things that younger me was offended by because I was trying my hardest to do the best that I could for my clients. And then that was the thanks, but it doesn't change.
Yeah.
So
seeing back on my clinic experience, I was at American University, and we definitely did mock trials as a part of clinic. So, we had to prepare for those at least once or twice. But I just think with one of my clients, we spent a whole semester drafting a divorce complaint. And so the end of the semester was when we filed it. So it's we didn't even get to the point of doing anything in court because it'd be okay, well, what goes in this? Well, what do you think goes in it? It'd be a philosophical conversation about, overall, I still feel the clinic was valuable, but for the nitty gritty of okay, which elements belong in this particular complaint for these people, that it was not particularly helpful for that.
Fair. Yeah, I did trial advocacy too with the same professor, Daniel Schemmer, who did the clinic And so we did 2 trials, I think, during the thing. And I remember he was like, go wild, do whatever you want to do, like try stuff out. And so there was definitely a point that somebody did the whole, well, here's how you make a cookie. And, you know, does the state have enough evidence to actually make that cookie, or is the cookie going to, you know, not come out or something like that? And I walk over in my closing and I was like, and the cookie crumbles. Smash the cookie.
I can't imagine your joy in that moment.
That was a lot of joy. Never actually done that in court, but that was a lot of fun to do. So, what do you think, doing this for as long as we have, makes a good attorney?
Preparation, I think, is definitely a part of it. Digging into it and knowing your case, knowing the elements, knowing what you filed.
Yeah. As attorneys, you definitely need critical thinking skills. And you need to be able to sometimes to just think out the box. So creativity, thinking out the box on solutions. And like Alycia said, preparation is key. Making sure you are prepared for possible questions, making sure your client is prepared. And I think as an attorney, it takes a while, but you just need to be comfortable with who you are. Because not everyone is going to be an aggressive attorney. Not everyone you don't need that as an attorney. You can be cool, calm, collected. You can have that aggressive tendency or just be out there, but you don't need that. You just need to be comfortable in your skin and know that because I'm prepared, I have the education, I know what I'm talking about. You just go in there and be confident.
But also kind and personable. Collegial, I guess, is maybe a better term, because you can be aggressive if that's your personality on this, like as an attorney during a case, but you can also still respect civility, that everybody has their part in the judicial system. Everybody is doing what they need to do, and this isn't our life.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, especially here, where we see you outside of the courtroom. So if you are going to treat me shabbily inside the courtroom, don't talk to me outside the courtroom. I mean, it's fine. We can be opposing counsel, but it's still that civility, respect. You do what you need to do for your client. I do what I need to do for my client. But there is that, like you said, respect that should be the theme.
When someone's nasty all of the time, when everything is a fight that doesn't need to be, like, there's so many things that don't need to be argued. Right. And you lose the respect, of your opposing counsel and the other people involved. And then like that affects you in future cases too. It affects, how people work with you. And it affects, the outcomes for your clients, I think. Yeah.
We used to say that you should be able to beat each other up in court and then go have a beer afterwards. Not that we're talking about the case or anything like that. We're just, how's your family? Great. What you doing? Oh, I'm going to go vacation, because that's who we were. If this is a job, and then we're people.
Right. So, exactly. And don't be afraid to advocate for your clients and be confident in your position. I've had attorneys, like one time in the middle of a trial, the attorney leaned over, and I might have told this story. The attorney leaned over. We were in a protective order hearing. So, do you want to settle? And no, I don't want to settle. And I won that case. Or another attorney disagreed with a position. This was in a divorce case or divorce in custody. Well, fine, then we're going to have a hearing. Okay.
Like, that's not a threat.
It's not a threat. It's not a threat. He got up, walked out the room, slammed the door. It's like, okay. what does that get you?
And
It just,
and understanding that at the end of the day, your client does get to choose. So if you've told your client your opinion and they've listened, and then you listen back and they say, this is what I really need to fight for, then that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like, even if you believe a settlement would be better, but you've told them that and you've heard them in return, that you have to have that two-way street of listening and communication.
right. Communication is definitely important. And like Kat said, communication is not only you speaking or you writing, drafting something, but it's also that listening and making sure you understand what your client is trying to say, what the opposing counsel or opposing party is saying, what the judge is saying, because you pick up cues from all of the parties as well as the trier of fact. So you need to be able to have good listening skills. And it's tough when you're in a contested hearing in the middle of trial and questions, witnesses on the stand and questions are being asked and you're trying to write everything down. It's tough, but it is sometimes, it is important because sometimes in those moments when the witness is on the stand and they say something that it's like, I have something to disprove what you have said, or, this is not what you said, in discovery, the stuff that you submitted for discovery. So communication is very, very important. And then also part of communication is observing people's body language. And so,
Especially the trier of fact, the judge or the jury.
When it's on cross, so you're trying to take notes, your client is whispering in your ear about how everything they're saying is a lie, or look over here at this, and you're trying to watch what their body language is, watch the judge, see how the judge is receiving it, all of it at the same time.
yes.
That's why trials are tiring. Because you are paying attention to so many things and trying to control so many factors that it can be exhausting.
Yeah. Yes. That's why it's important to lock off your calendar. Rest is important.
And having that person at home that understands that when you come home after 3 days of trial, you are not going to be on parenting duty.
Right. Yes.
You come in off that adrenaline, you come in the door and you're kind of still riding that high, and then it just crashes.
Yes. Yes. So do you have any career goals? Anything else that you want to achieve?
Well, I guess right now I'm currently working towards becoming a parenting coordinator. So I would say that's my next career goal. I think we talked in a previous episode about family law and wanting to, help save families' arguments. So to me, this is the next step in the net, the next variation to try. Litigation is so focused on, I don't know what winning even means in family law most of the time, but it's focused on winning, or making one side look good, the other side look bad, proving a particular theory. So parenting coordination, the idea is you have someone who's highly trained, like either a therapist or an attorney. You have to have a graduate level degree to do it. But coordinating between the parents and issue by issue, helping them resolve arguments. Yeah. So I am interested to see how that goes. Maybe that's a way that I can save families' fights instead of trying to prove one side or the other in court.
Long-term stability versus the short-term win.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe that will have its own challenges that I won't care for. But that's my next step to see how that goes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, you're okay.
I want to go third.
This was one of those itches. Thank you for letting me scratch that and getting the podcast up and going. I have to admit that I still have this desire to write a book.
You've talked about that for a long time.
I have talked about that for a long time. So, finding the time to do that is a thing. But professionally here, just making it a legacy, I think, and just wanting to bring in the next generation of attorneys to have that good work-life balance and make it a thing. I feel like the choices are government work or big law or nonprofit for not a lot of money, and they're but a lot of time. And so there is this happy middle that I think we've forged, and I think making that a thing, it would be a good movement forward, you know. And eventually finding an attorney to back me up for criminal law so that I can go back to that, since that was my first love. And that's one of those things I don't want to do it. I don't think I can do it properly if I don't have somebody if I get sick, if I get hurt, to be able to jump in and take the case appropriately. So.
Yeah. I think that is one of my goals, is to expand successfully the law firm, hire more attorneys, because managing a law firm is a job in and of itself.
It is.
And so to put on top of that, you also representing clients, because you have to bring in, you know, clients, that can be a lot. And also making sure that, like you said, the next generation understands that you don't have to work a 90-hour work week in order to be successful. You can come in and have that work-life sort of balance. You can be an attorney, but you can also be a human being.
Yeah.
And so that is important. You know, one of my main things is always giving back to the community. That is my, I guess, passion, especially helping the younger generation. And long term, I look at being a judge as giving back to the community. And so I do plan on applying to be a judge. And so we'll see. You know, I want to show people and show the younger generation in this community that no matter your race, your gender, you can succeed. And right now, in circuit, you know, in our courts here, there hasn't been a person of color. And there's only been 2 women in circuit court, 1 woman in district court here. And so I think not only, you know, don't mean to brag, but I think I have the qualifications. I know I have the qualifications.
Brag
I
away.
Also, I just want to show people, no matter the obstacles, you can achieve what you want to do. And you don't have to just be stagnant.
It'll be a bittersweet day here at Williams, McLennan & Stack when Miss Williams leaves us for her judicial robes. But we will be cheering it along because we think it's important too. So
that makes me think back to the first time we all put in our applications.
yes,
Some of us maybe because we didn't want to miss out on the road trips for all of those bar association interviews. But I remember, you know, being interviewed. There was one person on the Judicial Nominating Commission who asked us, "Well, you guys just started this firm. You know,
you must hate each other.
Yeah, do you hate each other? You don't want to keep working together?"
We all had that same question.
That question from a very elderly white man.
It's like, no, we do not hate each other. We encourage each other to pursue whatever she wants to pursue. And we know that just because we're pursuing this doesn't mean that there's something wrong. We are supporting each other. Women supporting women.
It's like, how would I feel about it? I would be brokenhearted and thrilled. That's exactly how I would feel.
And would you ask that question to a male?
Nope. Because what did we do? We applied for a position for a district court judge when we knew that there was one person who was likely to get it. And he did. Yeah. And he should have because he is perfect for that position. And so we knew it would be a good time to see what it was like to get through the process, because that's what everybody tells you is if you're going to be a judge, apply multiple times. And so we did. We edited each other's application. We paid for it from the firm for all of us. I drove it to Annapolis to drop all 16 copies off of each one. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yes.
And we did it together. And it was an eye-opening experience, first of all.
It was.
The Judicial Nominating Commission is not necessarily be all end all of word on judges.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a learning experience, and that is what you should do. You know, yeah, some people are very fortunate to apply their first time and get appointed, but you just have to sometimes just go through it and see if you want to do that process again.
You learn more about the factors that lead to being chosen, not just your resume.
And it can change your mind on things. You learn more of a history. I know that I wanted to learn more about judicial races. And it opened my mind that maybe the person appointed isn't always the person who should stay with the judicial elections, or maybe it is. And it's just not that black and white. It's there are political factors at play, even for something that isn't supposed to be partisan. So,
and sometimes people run just to break that barrier because you see the same type of person being appointed over and over again. And just because the governor doesn't appoint you doesn't mean you're not qualified to do the job.
Well, and sometimes even if the Judicial Nominating Commission doesn't send you to the governor,
Right.
not every qualified person makes it to the governor.
Yep. So those are the things that we have learned. But we're fortunate enough to have qualified judges here. So,
and we will continue to learn and share over the next season of the podcast, I think. So let's go into our final recess for this season.
Recess.
You be the judge.
You be the judge.
It's appropriate.
Judge.
If it's you be the judge, then shouldn't Marsha be reading?
You be.
I do not want to be a judge.
Oh my goodness.
I'm on the fence in the future.
Yeah, not for me.
Who's most likely to survive a zombie apocalypse?
Oh, that's a difficult one.
You can't like camping.
I do like camping. I'm always trying to hike through the woods to your house. Not really. I just talk about it. I've never once attempted it.
Yeah. You know, Corey watches those shows and he says, you would not survive.
I was like, Kat doesn't like the outdoors, so I wasn't going to pick you.
I'm going to be the one that's like in the basement with a shotgun. Like, don't come into my space. And then I'll survive for like however long I can. And then that'll be it.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw an ad for like a wilderness survival camp come across the feed and sent it to my husband. I was like, I would love to do this someday. Build my own outdoor shelter, like start fire with like no flint.
It'll be Alycia.
It will be Alycia. Who's most likely to be the first on the dance floor?
Marsha? Yeah. It was like, who has historically been the first on the dance floor, Marsha?
Yeah, get a good line dance. Oh, yeah.
I need something that does not prescribe how I should move. So it's not, I mean, it's going to be obvious that it doesn't look quite right, but at least it won't stand out to every other person who's doing it correctly in my off-rhythm movement.
Yes, I love a good wobble. Who's most likely to crack their phone screen?
I'm pretty bad at dropping my phone.
Yeah, I throw mine all the time. Not on purpose. It just flies out of my hands. But
I haven't actually cracked a phone screen yet, although I haven't.
I've cracked protectors.
All the time. I'm pretty sure mine is.
Yeah, mine's currently
right
cracked.
now.
I need to replace it.
Mine isn't. So who among the two of you?
I mean, you've got 3 kids instead of 2, so maybe I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Cat.
The extra kid, just try to do it.
What's one more way to have it fly out of your hands?
So zombie Alycia, dance floor, Marsha, crack phone cat.
What was it that came on at the end of Tiffany's wedding? Was it the wobble or something else where...
It was the Cupid shuffle.
I don't know. I just remember it was like, nope, we're already leaving. Like running out of there.
What was it? We usually yell, Tiffany!
But she's not actually in there.
Here.
Yeah.
So,
We bring her on screen otherwise.
yes.
All right. Well, we're going to do this a little differently for our last segment of childhood traumas. We're going to give you one of our own personal ones instead of Reddit's. So who wants to go first?
First.
Marsha.
I will go first. So childhood trauma, I think I've told this story before about I was a best interest attorney in a custody case, modification for custody. And so both parents were represented. And during the trial, the one attorney was asking his client whether she paid for his services through oral sex. And I was taken aback.
That feels fair. Yeah.
And the judge was clearly taken aback about
Not a typical question.
It's not a typical question. And I think he also asked, or did she sell drugs to pay for his services? It's like, why would you ask your client that question? What is the purpose of it? I don't know. But talk about professionalism and the lack thereof. That
I have to imagine there could be a case where you would have to ask that question, but that wasn't it.
No.
That was not the case. No, that wasn't the case. I've had entertaining people parties to a case when I was a child advocate with legal aid representing children. The parents were on Jerry Springer. And we did have a Jerry Springer moment. Not the same party.
Not the father?
Right. We had a Jerry Springer moment where in another case, when I was representing the children, that the grandmother who was sitting in the gallery stood up and started yelling at one of the parents. That parent got mad, threw back the chair, and ran out the courtroom.
Oh, goodness.
Not at the grandmother.
Not at the grandmother.
That's a little bit better.
That is a little bit better, but yeah, I was like, okay, this is, and I think the magistrate did say this is not Jerry Springer.
Yeah, we don't pay extra for drama.
No.
So mine was, I think I was still kind of newer when this happened. But I had a protective order and the parties had both filed protective orders against each other. So it was one hearing to decide was neither of them, both of them, either one of them going to be granted. I think my client had filed first. So I think I was questioning my client first. And, I asked a question and they started to tell their version of War and Peace. So I was like, oh, okay, we don't have all day here. Like these are quick hearings. Like none of this has anything to do with anything. And so I was trying to interrupt my client to ask them a question, Miss So-and-so, if you could, and my client did this to me and kept talking. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. And the judge took pity on me. He was like, Miss So-and-so, I think your attorney is trying to direct you to the most relevant parts. So we made it through that case, heard both sides. Judge indicated that they were going to grant both orders and sent me and the other attorney into the hallway to come up with a custody schedule in the meantime. And so you told my client, we had an advocate office, you go back to the advocate office and wait for me. I'm going to talk to this attorney and I'll come back and we'll see what we're doing here. So I think everything's fine. Other attorney and I step into a side hall. We are having the politest, most reasonable conversation about what to do next. And we hear a commotion. We sort of peek out of this hallway and the two families are about to have a brawl, like out in the gallery outside the courtrooms. And so we're trying to figure out what to do. So I'm not a bouncer. So I go over there. I'm like, this so-and-so, go to the, had my teacher voice on.
Nice.
Like, what are you doing? Eventually they separated. I'm like, so each of us was going to have to take off a shoe and try to break up a fight. Where are the bailiffs? It was an absurd day.
There are definitely many a times as a polite defender that somebody would be coming in from the jail portion of the district court. And the bailiff would lean over and be like, if you hear the word taser, hit the floor. It's like, oh my, please don't tase me. I'm just trying to help here.
Oh my goodness.
But one of my, it was a trauma for me, funny enough, because I was working on a theme of a case. You know, you have a jury trial, you try to put together what's your theme so that you can bring the jury along on your journey. And at the time, Sarah Palin was running for vice president with John McCain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there was like the Mama Grizzly or putting lipstick on a pig or something like that. And it was a case where I was claiming self-defense for my client. He was protecting his son, but he did, you know, pull a knife on a bunch of people. And so I was talking about, instead of the mother grizzly, it's the father grizzly bear. And I really like went into it, like just slipped into character for my closing and quoted Sarah Palin a number of times. And I did get, you know, all not guilty straight down the thing. They totally bought self-defense. It was wonderful. And then the newspaper stopped me to ask for a quote or something, and I couldn't stop laughing because I was so embarrassed about quoting Sarah Palin. So I was like, "Oh, you do what you gotta do to win." And
there was a point in time when there was definitely a lot more local reporting around here about what happened in the courts, and I don't think that level of reporting exists today. But I remember being in fear, like I did not want my name in that paper.
I appreciated it when they just labeled so and so's public defender. I have no name. That is correct. Leave me alone.
Although my favorite time that I've ever been referred to in print was a case where I think my client had been successful in getting a protective order. So then the other party filed a peace order retaliatory against my client. And they did not qualify for a peace order because they met the protective order statute as far as the relationship. So I went back into court and like got that dismissed. And I still do this to this day, not so much in our like divorce cases, but yeah, I'll look at social media and people's pages are available. You see what they're posting. And are we allowed to swear? I guess
we have occasionally.
Bleep it if we have to. Yeah. So I looked at his social media afterwards because part of it had been pulling his post into court and said something about her and that bitch that did the talking for her. And I tell you, I printed that out. I put it up on our bulletin board.
I am that bitch. Well, thank you all for joining us for this season and for listening to us. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of All the Legal Ladies. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and listen to the audio on your favorite digital streaming platform. So I don't even know where to go from here. So many things. Grizzly bears, oral sex, that bitch.
Hopefully not those two things together.
Don't do those two things together.
Yes, that's a different crime.
Until next time, it's been repealed. See you next season.
Bestiality has been revealed.
Yes, it has been. It was.